Gifts are the main collectibles that you will gather throughout each level to open the beacon for you to finish the level. It's pretty self-explanatory and everyone who plays this game should know that by now, but when you do collect all the gifts, what occurs after is known as the collapse. This causes gold gifts to spawn in the locations of where regular gifts used to be, allowing you to collect them while tiles begin to shatter and collapse. This is where the fun little gimmick the community has created comes into play. Being greedy. See, what gold gifts are used for are for purchasing upgrades that you eventually come across in the shop, which usually appear every few levels or so. These upgrades range from how they work and how insanely good they can be, whether it be in the early game for the long run, or when you get into the later game where you start to access to some of the really strong upgrades. One thing that should be known about the collapse is that if at least one person has entered the beacon, then that counts as the level being cleared. So if everyone else dies, then you'll still move on because of that one player entering the beacon, which means you can go for as many gold gifts as you possibly can gather, so you can use them to purchase upgrades, which is extremely worth even if you inevitably die. Because at the end of the day, what matters more than when you die is how much you were able to make use of that life before death. It's not only a benefit just to you, as getting gold gifts gives you trip coins to use for the shop, you know, currency, cosmetics back in the lobby, but it also is a major benefit to your team. The more players that are in a run will add onto the price of upgrades. As more people there are, the more gold gifts that can be gathered during the collapse, obviously, right? But surely you can greed beyond that, right? Well, of course you can. There are upgrades dedicated to increasing the amount of gold gifts you get, like Paycheck, an extremely good early game upgrade that is super beneficial in the longer run. It allows you to get bonus set of gold gifts each round if half or more of the players in the run live and make it to the beacon. This upgrade can also stack, which can increase your bonus, so it's extremely important for every player to be locked in so you can get paid. But if the team sucks, well, you can always go for a business license, which just increases your gold gift yield by 25%. With no repercussions or requirements, and is super beneficial to get as early as possible to help you get upgrades faster. But enough about these upgrades. There are also curses that give you more gold gift yield, but with downsides that in my opinion aren't really that run damaging. Savory Ring is usually the first curse you'd see that has to do with gold gifts. This curse gives you a 15% gold gift yield, but adds a random enemy. It's not random every round, it's one random enemy, and that enemy that is selected becomes permanent for the run. It's usually pulled from the early enemy pool, so it's usually a pretty good take to maximize your greed. Nothing is, well, it's nothing. I honestly think a lot of people in the community are still trying to figure out what this exactly does, but it gives you a 25% gold gift yield, so it's pretty worth taking, especially considering that it doesn't really make that much of a noticeable difference, to the run at least. So always take this when you see it. Fragile gifts is one that could punish you for your greed if you aren't careful, as it makes the collapse faster, but gives you a 75% gold gift yield, which is super worth taking. But never take lap 2 with fragile gifts on. In fact, unless you're trying to grind for trip coins, lap 2 is just usually never something you should take. It causes the beacon during the collapse to require a certain amount of gold gifts to be collected in order for the beacon to open, which is extremely risky if you don't have a competent team. Definitely not good for greed, and if anything, not a good curse to take in general. Now, I think I should talk about the altars, as you can use gold gifts on these and use altars as a way to get potentially more gold gifts too. Both the altar and revival and protection are never really worth using, not even that much in the later game too, as they don't really do that much to benefit, and they should only ever be used when absolutely necessary, like if everyone has like the shield upgrade and the shield like dies for everyone, then that would be a good time to use it. The Altar of Chance is a funny gambling altar that could help you with your greed fest or absolutely ruin your day. It has the potential to give you a multiplier on gold gifts for that round or remove all trip mines, but the negatives effects could have Marpocalypse, which spawns 6 marts, or it'll spawn a random enemy from that level's pool for that round. It's pretty risky, but usually is always worth activating. Also, the Altar of Purgatory is literally something you should never do unless your team is absolutely goated, as it spawns a high amount of random enemies in return for giving you a high amount of gold gifts, which the number depends on how many gifts are remaining in the round. Still, it's not usually worth taking. The newest altar from this patch, which is the Altar of Passage, will spawn randomly generated red tiles from the roots of the other tiles, and these red tiles will contain gold gifts. Alongside that, they will collapse after a short delay, and also the tiles that the Altar of Passage spawns can be influenced by any of the tile-based curses, so yeah, make sure you note that, because it can mess you up a bit. This is extremely worth a pop though whenever you see it, unless you're out of upgrades to buy, as then it just makes it pretty much worthless, and also it kind of lacks your game a bit, so you could be screwing over your teammates. But other than that, I believe that's pretty much everything that you need to know about maximizing your greed. So have fun, Nullscapers, and happy greeting.